Yeah, you read that right. One webinar made us over $167,000 in less than 3 days. I mean, it's literally enough to buy this new construction house here in Memphis, Tennessee. Well, I mean, technically we spent over $20,000 on ads, around 15%, so $24,000 in sales commissions and $4,000 on software. But that still leaves us with over $118,000 in net profit, which is still enough to buy this 3-bedroom house here in Cleveland, Ohio. And the craziest part is that we literally just had 3 weeks of preparation time to go from zero to fully built out webinar funnel. I personally had never worked in that niche. I knew nothing about the clients, the offer, nothing about writing copy in that niche, okay? And even less about writing a 300 slide webinar. Yet we still hit an absolute record month for our clients and for our agency. And in this video, I will break down exactly how that webinar worked. Yes, Jen, so as you can see over here, most of the leads came in for a quite high ticket price. So somewhere like 10K over here, 8K, 8.6K, okay, then we've got a 3K, and these over here, by the way, were all PIFs, so we literally had a 10K PIF coming in, lots of 8.7K PIFs, and that's how we ended up at $134,000 cash and $167,000 in revenue. Now, the most important thing, this was a high-ticket coaching program, okay? Just that you're aware of it, it was a high-ticket coaching program in the e-commerce brand niche. So they were basically teaching people how to build an e-commerce brand. Really, really, really good program, to be absolutely honest. I've seen a bunch of shit programs in this niche, but this one is really good. The most important thing is we had a 4-phase system, right? So we had a launch phase, a show up phase, a presentation, and a follow-up. And I will walk you through these phases now step by step. But before we start with that, you need to understand the most important step of when it actually comes to this webinar. So before I started working on anything here, the first thing that I did was literally take 4 hours, okay, go to the YouTube channel that this guy had and literally watch 2 hours of videos there. Then take all the other videos that he had, take all videos and make some transcripts, okay? Because I wanted to understand what this entire niche was about, what this offer was about, how I could write copy, which marketing angles we could leverage in our ads, in our emails, in our webinar. So research is literally everything here, right? And then the next thing that we did, we wanted to search for our ICP. So who was our ideal customer that we wanted to target mainly within our ads. And I will show you the ad copy in just a second and in our webinar. And this was pretty interesting because normally on this channel, when you watch some other videos, I'm going to say, yo, just target the in-market customers. So the in-market customer would be the 4% here, somebody who's already sold on the main idea of doing e-commerce, in this case, somebody who's already has a brand, who's looking to scale. And we generally say target this customer, but what we did with this webinar, we targeted 30% customers that are one awareness level higher. So these are basically people, or lower, however you want to see it. These are people who still need to be convinced, okay? They need to be convinced. And our ICP was very, very clear. In this case, we had a full corporate ICP, right? Full corporate 9 to 5. So our ideal customer profile, as you can see over here, was someone who was working a 9 to 5, who was office job, okay? They were generally at something like 120K year, okay? And they were tired of their job, didn't feel fulfilled, okay? And so on. And they wanted a second income. Now, that's very important because with many other clients, went with this messaging. It didn't work out. For this client, it did, and we knew it because they were already at $300,000 a month. Okay, this offer was already at $300,000 a month. So with a webinar, I mean, we made $167,000 in revenue from this offer. So in the follow-up phase, you need to keep in mind, I mean, we made around $167,000 in revenue from this offer, but you need to keep in mind that the webinar is actually a nurturing event, okay? So a lot of closes that weren't trackable back to the webinar probably still came from it. So something like they hit $500,000 a month because of this webinar. And they went to $300,000 a month with this corporate 9 to 5 messaging. So this messaging was already proven for them. We thought, why should we tweak it in the ads? Why not simply copy this messaging, okay? So here's essentially exactly what we've done. For the launch phase, we had some organic traffic coming in, but to be honest, the organic wasn't insane. We even had an email list. We did an entire email promo, okay? So we sent like 13 emails with big announcements and so on. But again, as I said, the organic side of things really wasn't the biggest thing. We also had an Instagram story sequence, some ManyChat automations over here for organic promo. But where we really shined was paid, okay? So around, when we think about this, around 80% of the traffic came from paid. And we simply went with winning angles that were already working for them. We took at least 11 creatives, and we had something like an order bump optimization. So I want to run you through this really quick, because as you can see, our lead quality was really, really high since we had a bunch of PIFs coming in. You might be wondering how we did that. Well, through a couple of things. So first of all, what we basically had was something like an order bump. Okay, so after someone registered, this is our order bump page over here. After someone registered, somebody filled out this registration page over here that looked like this, by the way. Okay, we also had a free lead magnet to get more leads off the line, some student proof, and so on. Yeah, so after registration, he would land on our registered page, as you can see over here. Okay, so this was the registered page. And for the registered page, we had something like a pixel event in place. And here's what I mean by that. So we were optimizing for purchase, okay? And when somebody basically purchased a low ticket offer, this was something like a VIP upsell, as you can see. They had a masterclass, a play blow book, a Q&A, a raffle for a one-on-one call. We would upsell them on a low ticket offer. I think it was $27 back then. And this way, whenever somebody basically purchased, so let's say he hit the registered page and then he purchased, and hit our VIP page because he had purchased, then we would fire the pixel event purchase back, and this helped us condition our pixel and attract higher quality leads. But this wasn't the only thing that we did, and by the way, we liquidated some ad spend as well. What we mainly did in the ads, which was leading to a very high lead quality, okay, I don't say you should do this always, but for this offer, it worked extremely well. We started leading the ads with something like got 10K to invest. So we always had this qualifier, okay? So got 10K to invest in a legit side hustle. If you've got around 10K sitting around, and so on. Over here, look, if you've got around 10K to invest and you're looking to for the safest business, look, if you've got around 10K to invest to support your family, I can help you build a brand doing this and that. And then we had some proof over here in the ads. Okay, I personally run a brand that is at $1 million a month, which was, by the way, an absolute sick thing here. And then they were basically backing it up with some student proof. Okay, so our ads were basically following a pretty simple structure. Obviously, over here we had we were leading with some student proof. Then again, here you got some 10K to invest. It were basically just iterations of the 10K ad. And over here we started with 5K. If you've got around 5K, e-commerce is the highest return vehicle you should be looking at. We were testing different hooks, by the way. Okay, so we generally had something like 3 different hooks here. Yeah, these were basically the ads that we were testing. We had some B-roll ads as well. So we had something like a 9-second B-roll ad, okay, with some text on it. That's generally when you have a video over here, okay. And then we had some captions here, a CTA over here. This was basically a 9-second long B-roll ad with a video B-roll beneath it, okay? And now this was the exact messaging that we leveraged in our ad copy and the kind of lead that we were attracting. And obviously we kept it consistent throughout the entire promo. So in our email flow, as you can see over here, just want to show you the show-up system really quick. In our email system, we were seeing insane open rates because the domain was very healthy. So we had like 70% open rates. Also subject lines were pretty good. Pretty sick engagement, 60% open rates, which is insane, by the way. Currently, right now, for most clients, we're at 30 to 40%. And we've had a full email nurturing flow. So as you can see over here, we sent around 15 emails with a higher frequency towards the ad. We were including all the sales assets, student interviews, long-form videos, personal transformations. We had a confirmation email. Then we were digging into the lead magnet that we gave them. Then we added them to something like a WhatsApp group. So as you can see over here, we had an entire WhatsApp group with the lead magnet and description. We had over 800 members in there. So when I run you through the math, I think we have a show up right even over here. Yeah. So we were at 1,800 registrants, mainly from cold, right? So something like 10% came from organic, probably less than that. And we were at 725 attendees, a 38% show up rate, pretty strong. Okay, and retention rate was very strong throughout the entire webinar. And we were also sending WhatsApp direct messages. So at the beginning of this video, I said we burned around 4K in software, while the main reason for that was 2K that we paid for WhatsApp. Okay, so just 2K for direct WhatsApp messages. And as you can see over here, it was basically sending me, this is my personal WhatsApp, it was basically sending me reminder messages over here. Okay, we had a thank you page with the lead magnet and thank you VSL. So all the common practices, SMS reminders, 6 reminders over here. And we had some hammer them ads as well. So some ads where we basically digged into the story, okay, and nurtured them with some content uploading to the webinar. And yeah, that's exactly how our shop system worked. Nothing too special. We were just dialing in our copy here, and we were making sure that we really aligned our copy to this ideal customer over here that we were targeting. So that's why I'm saying ideal customer research is that important, because you want to make sure your entire messaging is aligned. Then it comes to a presentation. Now, obviously for a presentation, very, very important thing that you need to be aware of, who are we talking to here? Were we talking to completely unaware people? Not necessarily. Were we talking to product-aware people? No, mostly no. Were we talking to most aware people? No. To solution-aware people, so people who already know that e-commerce is the right thing for them? No. We were talking to problem-aware people, so people who are aware they have a problem and they're actively looking for solutions right now, but they aren't aware of our solution yet. Okay, so they weren't aware of our solution of that building a brand could help them escape their 9-to-5 in this case. So we wanted to make sure that our entire webinar aligned with this messaging. As you can see over here, when I was writing this webinar, I was literally laughing my ass off, because I leverage a lot of humor here and there, not too much, okay, not to be really too much here, but we always leverage some humor in our webinars. And as you can see over here, keep in mind who we're talking to. We're talking to this dude who's burned out of his 9-to-5. And then we basically started the entire webinar with an opportunity hook. This is like finding out about Bitcoin. Then we had some proof here from third-party proof on the biggest brands in this entire industry. And then we were digging into the pain, okay, and the pain of the customer right now, so why it matters for them, where they at right now. You know, the feeling of staring at the clock every single day, just waiting for the day to end, hoping and praying, and for a 3% pay raise if you're still lucky, and you're still struggling with that. And yeah, I know how I was there. The working environment was stressful. I want to make my escape plan and so on, okay? So we were basically digging into all their pain points that are related to a corporate 9-to-5. And then we had some student proof over here. We had some belief breaking. You don't need to be a marketing genius. You don't need 50K. You don't need expensive ads. You don't need to sacrifice your profits. We were future pacing. You realize that you want more out of life. You will say it out loud than a 9-to-5. You want financial and location freedom, and you want to work on something you're proud of. Okay, we're using some images here because the brain works on peripheral and logic route. Okay. And then we were teasing, exciting them a bit for the webinar, and then basically throwing a bit against other business models here in this niche. And we were belief breaking them, okay, some proof over here. And then, yeah, we just pitched and we just had a training, and we were really, really dialed in, okay? So this was a training. We had 5 different training pillars over here. 5 different pillars. Generally, we do something like 3 pillars, but these were rather quicker pillars, and they were really valuable. They screenshot in between. They showed their own stuff because they are actually doing this business model, and they were really good presenters as well. Okay, so then we transitioned to the pitch, and for the transition to pitch, we had something like a crossroad option. The only option you have, we were recapping what they learned, what the first things you would do, so everyone now here has a better feeling about how to start, and then should you do it alone or not, and then we were asking for their permission to pitch and drop it in the chat. And then we pitched the offer. For the offer, we had, we generally, when we pitch in webinars, what we like to do is we like to basically ask for permission. So this would be your ask for permission. And then we pitch the first deliverable, okay? Then we pitch the second one. Then we pitch the third one. And for each deliverable, we do something like deliverable, outcome. So what is the direct outcome of this deliverable? And what's the benefit of it, okay? So for example, let's say one of our deliverables was something like a supplier network in China, so they could basically leverage their supplier expert. So supplier expert is the deliverable. What is the outcome of this, that they get access to the supplier access? They can basically have connections in China with proven suppliers, okay? And what's the benefit of these connections in China? They're not left guessing where to source from, okay? And they don't source from sketchy sources. And keeping in mind that a supplier is the most important thing in your entire Amazon business, this is a massive benefit. Again, this is what we did for each of these deliverables. Then we transitioned to bonuses. We had a guarantee in place, okay? We always had some student proof here. We pitched various times. Then we did a Q&A, some objection handling, a recap, and so on. Okay, and then what we basically had, we were sent them to an application because we still had a lot of people at that pitch, and that's, by the way, something that you can decide based on the number of people that still are at the pitch when you're moderating. You can have just a Calendly link prepared and just an application, and if it's generally a high volume, you want to send them through an application form first, where we were asking for their capital that they had to invest. We were only sending the tiers who said they had more than 5 to 10K to invest, and then we would send the qualified ones to a booking page, right, where they could book in a call. We let them schedule 3 days in a advanced sales team was really good. We had our setters and closers reach out. We had an SMS sequence, WhatsApp sequence, reminder emails, and so on that would align with the post-webinar messaging. And the people who were qualified but didn't book in a call, so we were still capturing them because we have something like a partial submit point there. So in Typeform, what you can do when this is your question, in between you can have something like a partial submit point. So this is something they don't see, but when they answer this question, okay, but they don't answer this one, we still capture their data, okay, and that's exactly what we've done. Then we've notified a sales team and so on. We had a DQ page. We're still reaching out to, because a lot of people lie. Maybe they didn't understand the question, maybe they didn't want to say their entire capital, and yeah, that's basically how the entire webinar itself worked. The webinar did really, really well. We made a lot of our money, as I said, in the first 3 days. I'm really sure the webinar generated more cash than that, but yeah. Now, lastly, we also had a follow-up sequence. That's what I'm talking about, right? So our follow-up sequence, we had an entire replay promo with a dedicated replay page. We were leveraging the entire replay as a sales asset. The replay generally has 3 days, then it expires to tie it to some urgency. We had a WhatsApp group post promo, as you can see, with a bunch of student testimonials. This is where you really want to destroy some objections and hammer in some videos. We had the MSET reaching out, okay. Also in WhatsApp, we were CTAing leads to the MS private WhatsApp. We had 3 days of replay promo to the main email list, to the attendees, to the no-shows, with certain specialized emails over here. So this was for the main list. Some of you showed up, some of you didn't show up. This was for attendees. You got some massive value from tonight, and this was for no-shows. You didn't show up, life happens, and so on. And we were still booking around 10% of the calls from there. Then we were running book a call retargeting ads on Facebook, as you can see over here. If you're seeing this ad, you've watched a masterclass, but for whatever reason on God's green earth, you didn't book a call. Now look, I get it. And then we were just handling, this is just objection handling here, okay? We were literally just objection handling them because a lot of leads didn't book in a call. So this was only retargeting attendees, okay? And attendees, obviously, they received all the value. So the only thing that was left here was getting them off the line with some urgency, maybe even a special offer. We didn't do a discount here, but this was something that we could have kept in mind. And then manual follow-ups from the entire sales team. And that's exactly how our entire webinar promo worked. So as you can see, everything was well structured based on our systems that we always implement for our clients, because we, especially in an offer like this, where we had, as I said, literally no idea of the niche of the offer owners, because it was a build and release offer. So it was a one-time webinar. We're not long-term working with these clients, okay? But especially for this webinar, we need to understand the niche quickly, understand the ideal customer, set up the launch phase correctly, get those ads recorded, align the entire flow, the email flow, and the SMS reminder flow, and the entire automations with each other. Then making sure the presentation was dialed in, was targeting this ICP, the right awareness level, and then having the right follow-up system in place. Yeah. Now, look, if you basically want something like this, I'm not guaranteeing you these results, okay? These are really exceptional results. Results like this are not guaranteed. Most of the webinars that we personally work on hit way lower numbers than this. But that's definitely possible. Like, if you have the right messaging, if you have the right offer, you can definitely hit more than 6 figures. Now, again, if you want to partner with us and want us to implement our systems in your business and partner with you long term, if it's just a build and release webinar or really a long-term partnership, then feel free to reach out to me. It's simon.asman on Instagram and growinginfo.com to book a free strategy call with us directly and see where we can help you. With that being said, guys, leave a subscribe, a like, share it with someone who needs it, and take care.